Hello everyone. Today I am going to walk you through how to use loops in conditionals and Ansible. We will explore different loop constructs for automating repetitive tasks, and then we will dive into how to use conditional to apply logic and control the task execution. So let's get started. We will begin with a basic scenario where we need to add multiple users to a system. Typically you might write a separate task for each user. Let's see what that look like first. So first of all, this is my Ansible controller node. Here in this particular machine, I am going to create one directory called Ansible loops conditionals. So in this particular directory, I'm going to place or create my all the playbooks for this particular demo. First of all, I'm going to create one playbook called create-user.yml. So in this particular playbook, I am going to define two tasks which will be going to add a two user. So I'm going to add a host, that is a local host. I'm going to trigger this particular playbook on this particular node itself, task, and name of the task, create user one, and module name is ansible.builtin.user to create a user. So username is user one and state should be present, and this user should be a part of group field. Similarly, I'm going to create another task for another user. I'm just copying the content and updating the information here. So user 2, and this particular user is also a part of wheel group. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to trigger this playbook, ansible-playbook, create-user.yml playbook name, enter. So if you notice, it created a two user with two separate tasks. While this work, it's inefficient. If we need to add 10 or 20 users, this playbook would get unnecessarily long. So now let's simplify this using the loops. So I'm going to modify the similar playbook, and here I'm going to use a loop. Loop means it will iterate over the list of user. I'm going to define user 3, and user 4. So in this particular way, I don't need to create a multiple task. Instead of that, I can specify the user inside this particular loop. And here I'm going to use a placeholder called item. Basically what this placeholder does, it inserts each username dynamically. This will make the playbook more concise and readable. And there is no need to use this task. I'm removing this, and if I run this particular playbook, ansible-playbook and the playbook name, it creates a user with single task. So in this way we can make our playbook more efficient, and we don't need to repeat the task multiple times for a similar operation. So let's take this a step further. But if we wanted to assign a different group to different user, for that we can use a dictionary to pass both username and the group. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a different playbook called create user groups.yml, and this particular playbook, I'm going to create a dictionary. So let me update the task here first, and I'm going to give a name to the task, create user and assign group, and module name should be ansible.builtin.user, and in this I am going to specify the name, which I am going to read it from the variable. State should be present, and group, which will be passed by the user in the loop. And if I am going to specify the keyword here, what I can do, I can specify the list of dictionary. Means we can specify a list of dictionary of a multiple user and the associated group with that particular user in this particular loop. And here I'm going to give a user name called Nikhil, and specify the groups under which group it needs to be assigned, comma, groups, and this particular user should be a part of field group, dictionary close. And if you notice, we are using the curly braces to define a dictionary. This is a similar syntax which we use in the Python as well. And here I'm going to specify another list another dictionary with the name called Jack, and groups should be root. So that means this particular user should be a part of root group. And how to use this name and the group's value? So for that, what we can do, we can use a placeholder item. But here what we need to do, in the name field we need to specify the name. So here we have specified the name in the dictionary, so we can use the name. So we just need to provide the key information, so it will automatically update the value of that particular key. Just like in Python we are specifying the key to get the value of that particular key in the dictionary, similarly we can use the same approach here. And if we want to update the group, so item dot groups should be placed here. And if I run this particular playbook, Ansible hyphen playbook create user hyphen groups, so it will create a user and associate a group to that particular user. So this particular user got created and the group also got added. This particular approach makes our playbook more flexible for more complex cases where user need different privileges, or some things like we need to add some specific configuration or some specific shell to some specific user. So we can use this particular approach. Ansible also provides the withDict keyword, which is specifically designed for working with a key value pair in dictionary. Let's update the same playbook to use the withDict. So I am going to use a withDict which will be precisely working for the key value pairs. So for that particular demo, I am going to replicate this particular playbook and update it with the create user with dict.yml, and let's modify this. And here what I need to do, I am going to use withDict instead of loop. And here we don't need to specify the list of dictionary. Instead of that, we can specify the key value pair. So username should be our key and group should be our value. Let me update these values here. And this one, and let me update the value of name because Nikhil and Jack is already been created. And to update and use this value, we can use the keyword called key, because our name is the key of the dictionary and the group is a value. And to use the value, we can use item dot value here. So it will dynamically updates the value of key and value to the respective placeholder. Let me trigger this playbook. Create user with dict, and it creates a user with the specific key and value. Basically this particular approach is very useful for the already predefined variable which is having the specific value to be used. Now let's talk about the conditional in Ansible. Conditionals allows you to run tasks only when certain conditions are met using the when statement. For this demo, what I'm going to do, let me clear this screen first. I'm going to create one playbook called install packages underscore os.yml. What I'm going to do, I am going to create a playbook which will be installing packages on RHEL or Ubuntu server. So let's create a playbook first. And for this particular demo, I have already a Ubuntu server and the RHEL server as a managed node added to this particular Ansible controller node. So let's update this playbook. Host should be RHEL and task, and let's create a task to install packages on RHEL servers. And for that we have a module called ansible.builtin.em, which is a package manager in RHEL or the Red based machine. So in the Ansible we have a similar module called em. Name of the package, because I am going to install multiple packages, so I am going to utilize the loop concept here. State should be present, and loop where I'm going to define the list of packages. HTTPD, that is Apache web server, Git, and the curl. And I am going to define another task to install packages. Let me update this here, packages on Ubuntu server. I am going to use the module called ansible.buildin.app and name, which I'm going to use as a placeholder. Here I need to use item because I'm using the loop. Similarly here as well I'm going to use a loop. State, present, and loop list of packages. And in Ubuntu, Apache web server name is Apache 2, but in RHEL is HTTPD, and rest of the packages remain same, that is git and curl hyphen curl. If I run this particular playbook against the RHEL servers, in that particular scenario, this particular playbook will fail because this particular task will pass because I am using the yum module. But this particular task will fail because I am using the apt module to install the packages, and apt is not being used in the RHEL based machine. And plus Apache 2 is not a package available in the RHEL server, that is only available in the Ubuntu server. So to how to differentiate between the OS, so we can use the when condition. When is just like a if statement in any of the programming language like Python and Java. So here we are going to define the when, and inside that we are specifying our condition. In Ansible we have a predefined or like a auto-calculated variables that is called Ansible facts. So let me show you the example of that. I am going to show you debug facts.yml. I'm going to create the playbook which will be showing the information about the host on which we are going to connect. And debug is used to print the variable or some kind of string on the console, and here I'm going to use a predefined variable called facts. It shows all the information about the managed node. Let me run this playbook and debug.yml, debug-facts.yml. If you notice, it gathers all the information about this particular managed node. And if you notice, there is a keyword called OS_family, that is the Red Hat base. Means this particular managed node is a Red Hat based machine. So we can utilize the similar approach to create a condition. So let's modify this debug statement and use the OS_family keyword to fetch the information about the OS family of the managed node. So it's Red Hat. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a condition using this particular Ansible facts OS family variable. So let's update the playbook, and in this I'm going to create a condition, and it should be equal to Red Hat, then only this particular task should be called. Similarly, if I am going to create a condition here, and it should be Debian because because Ubuntu is a Debian based OS, and it should be under quotes, single quote or double quotes. Similarly for the Debian as well. Now our playbook is ready. For now, I am going to trigger this playbook against the RHEL server. So in that scenario, this particular task should be skipped. Let me run this. Let me clear out the screen. Ansible-playbook, install packages. So it gathers the fact, and then it started installing the packages on the RHEL server. Once it's done, it will skip the task for the Ubuntu server because that condition doesn't match, because it is not a Red Hat based system. So it installed the package, and if you notice, it skipped the Ubuntu server task. Now what I'm going to do, if I update this to Ubuntu server, let me run this and if I trigger the same playbook again, it will skip the first task in that scenario. If you notice, it skipped the first task, it started installing the packages on the Ubuntu server. So this is a powerful way to make your playbook more versatile across different environment. Now there is one more thing. If we like right now, the Ansible fact variable is coming from this particular task. When we trigger the playbook, by default Ansible run the gather facts task to gather the information about the managed nodes. But if we disable it, we have an option in the Ansible called gather facts keyword, and it should be updated before the task gather facts equal to no or false. And if I run this playbook, this particular playbook will fail because we are using the Ansible fact variable, which is being populated by the gathering facts task. Let me update this to yes, and I'm going to update it to all. So it will trigger the playbook on all the nodes which is inside the inventory file. So for that we have RHEL Ubuntu. It skipped the task RHEL on the Ubuntu server, and it only performed the action on the RHEL server. Similarly for the Ubuntu server, it skipped the RHEL server and performed the action on the Ubuntu server. So this is a very powerful way to make our playbook more efficient and use it across a different environment. Now let's talk about the until statement in Ansible. This is useful when you need to retry a task until a certain condition is met. It is often used when you are waiting for a service to be up or for a command to return a specific result. For this example, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one playbook which will be checking the existence of the file and retry the task until it's found. So what I'm going to do, let me clear out the screen, and in this I'm going to create a playbook called file underscore check.yml, and I'm going to create one task on for the local host, and task and name of the task check if file exists. I'm going to use a module called ansible.builtin.stat and specify the path temp.file.txt. Right now this particular file does not exist in a system. I'm going to register the output of this particular task. So for that we have a keyword called register. So using register we can capture the output of the task and store it in some variable, that is file underscore check in this particular scenario. And here I'm going to write a task to wait until file exists, and I'm going to use a keyword module called ansible.builtin.debug, the same model which we used earlier, and it's a typo here. And we are going to use a message to print a string if file found. And here we are going to use a statement or keyword called until, and we are using the variable which we defined earlier to register the task output file check dot stat, because we need to see like if that particular file exists or not. And this is the, if it is true, that means this file got exists and it prints this particular statement. And after that we are going to retries the task for 5 times after the delay of every 7 seconds. This playbook will check for the file after every 7 seconds and give up after 5 attempts if it doesn't exist. So let's run the playbook file check.yml. Right now that particular file does not exist in this system, and if you notice it's going to retry after every 7 seconds. So this is 5th, 4, and after every second it will try to check the existence of the file. If it doesn't exist or found, and it will fail this particular playbook. 2 more left and it will fail the task or the playbook now, because that file does not exist in this system, right? So what I'm going to do, I am going to create that particular file to check if the particular file found, how this particular will react and show the execution. So I'm going to create an empty file and trigger the playbook again. and this particular playbook will work in a one go because that particular file exists and it satisfies the condition and it prints the file found with green. Earlier it was false. And it shows like error here. This will be a very powerful like approach in a long running processes like a database configuration of the installation of the databases, so we can check the services is up or not after trigger the command of the installation. So in this way we can make our playbook more robust or like more efficient. So today we have covered the loops and conditional in Ansible. We have used loop to add multiple users, simplify the process with dictionary, and then use conditional to control which tasks are run based on the OS. Additionally, we have also used the until statement to check the services up or not. Like in this particular demo, we have used the file existence scenario. These are the techniques are essential to make your playbook more dynamic and efficient for real-world automation tasks. If you found this demo helpful, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more advanced Ansible and DevOps content. Hit the bell icon to get notification whenever I upload new videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Have a nice day.